And welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Newell with MSO News Sports. We are joined here by the sports writers Phil Stacey, Matt Williams, Nick Giannino of the Salem News, and Nick Kukuru from the Gloucester Times. And we're here every week. And Wednesday, this is being posted. We're doing this on Tuesday evening. So, gentlemen, a lot of things were postponed due to the heat or threat of thunderstorms on Tuesday of this week. But we do have a lot of things to catch up on: baseball, lacrosse, softball, so on. So, I'm thinking, let's pick up on baseball. I know we spent a lot of time on baseball last week, but yet on the other hand, there's a lot to talk about. Marblehead was 10-2 until just Monday when they lost to Gloucester, and now they're 10-3, but a comeback win or a win for the Fishermen after losing the other day. Nick Kukuru, maybe you want to update us on that game, and then we'll go to Matt Williams for more baseball.
Yeah, sounds good. So now, Gloucester and Marblehead, that's the NEC North leader and the NEC South leader. And, they split two games, both one-run games. So, they might get a chance to play again in Division II North. It'll probably be a one-run game again. It could go either way. It was a far cry from the first meeting. First meeting was a 1-0 Marblehead win, and it was 5-2 after the second inning yesterday. Both pitchers were having a little trouble throwing strikes. Both teams probably could have got a few more runs in those early innings too. But then it really settled down from there. Zach Abbott pitched for Gloucester. He settled down after a tough first inning, and Marblehead went to the bullpen. They got James Duty and Bjorn Plus out there pitching, and they shut Gloucester down for the final 5 innings. They didn't get a run. Marblehead kind of chipped away. They got a big night from Shane Keogh. He had 3 hits. He had a blast of a home run. It wasn't you can get some cheap home runs at Nate Ross. This one was not one of those, even from a lefty out to the right side of the field. That one would have been out of most fields. A sloppy game too, as we've been alluding to. Marblehead, kind of the difference of the game. Runner got thrown out at second on a wild pitch that made it back to the backstop. I think the runner thought he had an easy, he had the base, and he kind of hesitated and didn't kind of break out hard right away. And the ball popped right up off the backstop, and the catcher, caught it and threw it to second base. It wasn't even that close of a play. And Keogh hit a home run on the next pitch to make it 5-4. And if that didn't happen, it would have been 5-5. So the game of inches between those two teams. It could have gone either way. It sounds like the first time they played, it was very similar, a play or two here or there.
It's all how it bounces, right? Matt, yeah. What do you what can you share with us with some baseball notes from the past week? But also, maybe you guys could also think about who do you think are the top 5 baseball teams on the North Shore? I know that's a little subjective or very subjective, but maybe just think along those lines too. What teams do you think would be in the top 5? But Matt, you can start with whatever on other topics as well.
Well, I think first has got to be St. John's Prep. I mean, they're just operating on a different level as everybody else. And, Phil and I were talking about the Frades game last week when we ran out of time here on the program. And St. John's was able to walk off a somewhat controversial ending with players spilling out of the dugout as the winning run came around home. So that was fun to see. But I think if, this tournament that's upcoming could be a referendum on the Super 8 as we move forward. I think I've talked to a few coaches in Division I that have kind of said sarcastically, why don't they just hand that trophy to St. John's right now? Who's going to compete with them? Who's going to beat them? And, the prevailing notion is nobody. Now, I'm sure that if there's anybody from the Merrimack Valley listening to this, they might see that as a bulletin board material or whatever. But, it feels like you can pencil St. John's in for the state semifinals. They have a ridiculous lineup at the top, the bottom, good 1-2 punch pitching in Sam Beliveau and Peter Martin, only having to play 7 innings. I mean, to my knowledge, this will be the first 7-inning state tournament game in St. John's Prep history. So, is their bullpen as deep as it's been in years past? No, but you chop off 2 innings per game, and really, how much are you really asking these guys to do? So I think as far as the top 5 goes, it's number 1, and then Mexico between everybody else in St. John's Prep. I mean, I think for me, and I'll let Nick and Phil weigh in too. I mean, for me, I think that Gloucester would have to be number 2 and Marblehead would have to be number 3, just based on the way they played the other day. That 4 spot is probably some combination of Danvers and Beverly, both hovering around 500, both hot and cold. Beverly has the most games left. They've only played 11. They have 4 or 5 left. Danvers has already played 14. And sticking in Danvers, I got to give them a lot of credit. They're playing a lot better lately than they did at the beginning of the year. They're doing a really good job of getting runs home. They're taking advantage of wild pitches. Had a nice win over Peabody last week for them, and nice win over Swampscott. And they actually do have a small opportunity to tie Gloucester for the NEC North title. They're 7-3 in league play, and Gloucester's 10-3, probably in the clubhouse once they beat Winthrop. So fortunate for Danvers, they split with both Peabody and Marblehead and happened to win the game that was a league game. So that was a nice break for them. And even if they finish second, I think, after the first week of the season, none of us had them pegged to finish second. So Coach Secondini over there is doing a really nice job. They're playing much better than expected.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, record-wise, Gloucester and Marblehead, but from what I've seen, there's really not much that separates Gloucester and Marblehead from, Beverly, Danvers, Masco. You're almost kind of splitting hairs. I mean, this could be one of those years, what was it, 2017, where it was a crazy bracket, and the lower seeded team won every game on one side, and you had 10-10 Gloucester and 10-10 Marblehead in the semifinals. And they had beaten NEC teams with better records than them that they kind of went back and forth with in the regular season. So we could be looking at a situation like that again, as a lot of these NEC teams playing each other, and the team that with the worst record is not necessarily the worst team. They're pretty evenly matched.
Hamilton Wenham might be a team that's trying to sneak into that top 5, I would think, Willie. They're getting some good ball playing. Reggie's certainly doing a nice job coaching that team. And, maybe because they're in the Cape Ann League, they don't get the notoriety that some of those Northeastern Conference teams do. But I think come tournament time, they could be a dangerous team.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, 11-2 now. I think if they haven't clinched the Cal Baker, they're 1 game away. Nick Frenny, their junior catcher, who's got roots in Danvers, he's leading the North Shore home runs with 5. And they got a 3-headed monster there pitching with Hutch and Luke McClintock and Shane Metternich, who, if anybody missed the story last week, Shane is going to go ride polo at Southern Methodist in Texas. So he's a horseman. And, their 4 horsemen are not, Flair and Anderson and Tully, but, a guy who rides a little bit of polo. That's pretty cool. This guy's, striking out 10 batters against Ipswich and then going down to Virginia to ride in the Polo Nationals from Myopia. That's not something you see every day.
What Pro Football Hall of Famer and former Patriots standout were in the same backfield at SMU?
Craig James. Was it
Cunningham? I don't know.
And Eric Dickerson.
Dickerson,
I seen the 30 for 30. That's the only reason I know.
Oh, okay. I'm old enough to remember. So that's sad.
All right, man, we're going to jump. Let's just totally jump topics here, and let's go to lacrosse. Nick Giannino, we haven't heard from you, so let's just jump to girls lacrosse. I know you had a story this week on the Ipswich girls, but maybe you want to just touch on a few notes that you've seen over the last week or so.
Yeah, well, I think just to start, similar to the baseball, sometimes the Cal kind of gets overlooked competition-wise with all these good teams in the Northeastern Conference. Especially this year, the girls' Northeastern Conference for lacrosse is really stacked. You got Peabody, Swampscott, Masconomet, Marblehead that are all just, very talented teams, could make some noise here in the tournament. But when you look at the Cape Ann League, there's really 2 teams that sit atop, and that's Newburyport, who's undefeated, obviously having another terrific season there. I don't think any of their games have been particularly close. I think they had a 6-goal win over Pentucket recently. That was probably their closest game this year. And they had beat Ipswich earlier in the spring. early May, 20-6, I believe it was. And since then, Ipswich has been dominating their opponents. That's their only loss. I think they're 8-1, 9-1, something like that. Just really coming together and doing so under a new coach, Alison Tivnan. Kerry O'Connor had a lot of success there with both the volleyball and the lacrosse teams, and now having Allison in there, it's a new voice and a lot of different faces. Obviously having, I think, 10 or 11 seniors graduate from last year's team that would have been ready to make a run as well last spring had there been a season. But all these girls that were juniors and now seniors have stepped up. Riley Daley, we've heard a lot about her. She's getting it done both scoring wise and facilitating. I think she leads the team in assists, second in goals behind fellow senior Kayla Greenleaf, who has really come along this season. She just scored her 100, or no, I'm sorry, she hasn't hit 100 career goals yet, but she's about 4 away. So pretty much a sure thing that she's going to crack that milestone within the coming days. So Ipswich is in a really good spot. I like their chances in Division II North. They might get another matchup with Newburyport down the line here. They're not going to see them in the regular season, but they might be able to, get another crack at them in the tournament, which would be cool. I think they've come a long way since that game. So Ipswich, definitely a team to watch. Hamilton Wenham in the Cape Ann League is holding their own. They obviously had a tough one against Ipswich this past week, but their numbers seem a little down, but they're hanging in. They're, right around 500, just over 500. And then who am I missing from the Cal? I think that's it now with Masco out, right? So, those are a couple teams to watch. And I also got to see Bishop Fenwick this past week. They gave it to St. Mary's pretty good. They're having a fantastic season with head coach Joel McKenna over there. Again, seniors doing their job over there, getting a lot of contributions across the board. One girl that's really stuck out is Karina Gyllenhaal, who Coach McKenna said has also come a long way, just a lacrosse junkie, and has really blossomed into a tremendous scorer for them. I think she's up among the leaders, top 3, 4, 5 leaders in goals scored on the North Shore. So that's another team that could definitely make a run come tournament time. I think they'll only have 1 loss. So really a lot of talent on the North Shore this year for lacrosse. I mentioned Peabody. They're 1-2 loss team. Swampscott 1-2 loss team. Or 3 losses for Peabody, I think. Masco hasn't lost. They've been ridiculous, just dominating opponents. Essex Tech is having an undefeated season as well. And what's that?
The 2 sisters.
Yeah, the 2 sisters, Molly and Maddie McDonald, getting it done for them. Their games haven't even been close, and you'd like to see them maybe branch out from their conference a little bit and test themselves a little bit more, but that's the nature of this season in the pandemic, or as it comes to a close here, but haven't been able to really test themselves outside of the conference with some tougher games. So we'll see what they can do in the tournament. But like I said, they've been rolling opponents. I did the math the other day. I think they scored over 120 goals and let up just about 21, 22. So pretty ridiculous what they're doing over in Essex Tech.
Manchester Essex hovering around there too on the girls lax side. They're the defending Division II North champs from 2019. They lost to Ipswich, they lost to Newburyport, but I believe it was their closest games of the season for both teams. It was one goal win for Ipswich, and I think it was a 3 or 4 goal game against Newburyport. So I'm not sure that they're, I think you'd have to put Ipswich and Newburyport as kind of the 2 favorites in Division II, but Manchester's a dangerous team. Lily Athanas might be the best overall player. She's going to Georgetown next year, so tremendous athlete, and they're a team you got to watch out for too.
We can probably announce that news about Lily too, Nick, I would think. Oh
yeah, sure. Lily named the Moynihan Lumber Student Athlete of the Year this year, along with Triton's Kyle O'Doy. So a couple nice crop of winners, and Lily is an outstanding 3-sport athlete. She was the Cal Player of the Year in field hockey, and lacrosse is her best sport. She's going to play lacrosse at Georgetown, and she was also a first-team All Cape Ann League point guard in basketball. So she's and obviously she has the academic chops too to win that award. So she's she's got it together. She's good at everything.
I had a chance to see her play both field hockey and basketball this past season against Ipswich, and I can vouch for what Nick is saying. An outstanding player and competitor, really. I think she's all over the field making plays, even when she doesn't have the ball in field hockey or in basketball. You know, she runs that floor like a true general out there, just distributing, getting the offense going, getting back on D, right in defenders' faces. I have to imagine she brings those same intangibles to lacrosse. And she was terrific when we interviewed her for our Salem News Student Athlete of the Year. She was the Manchester Essex nominee, and boy, what a classy kid, and right at the top of her class too, Nick, which just kind of rounds out an already outstanding resume.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'd say all over the field. That's the first thing I think of when, you know, you see her play. She's a two-way player in every sport. Just, you know, pretty complete.
Hey, Phil, I want to jump to boys lacrosse. So what can you share with us on boys lacrosse here in the last several days?
Do you want me to do a top five a la what Willie did, or just?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a top five. I think that's that worked well. Even though Nick Giannino didn't technically do a top five, we got it in.
I think I got the 5 teams in there. Yeah.
Yeah, so. I think we, you know, if you go back and read the transcript of what Nick said, you can figure it out.
Okay.
Phil, yeah, do it.
So why don't I do this backwards from 5, just to mix it up a little bit? You know, why not, right?
A drum roll for you then,
yeah. Buddy Rich, okay. All right, so I'll start with number 5. I'm going to go with Bishop Fenwick. They've been rolling lately. They've won 8 out of 9 games. They've won at least 5 straight that I know of. They went 4 for 4 last week, and then a great overtime win on Monday over St. Mary's. Getting Stefano Fabiano back has been a boon for Bishop Fenwick. He missed the first 8 games of the season with an injury suffered during football. And since he's been back, he has, I want to say, 23 points in 3 games. It's like 11 goals and 12 assists. He's been ridiculous. His stick skills are in the 1% echelon of what we have here on the North Shore. Just a fantastic player, but a lot of other great plays at Fenwick, stepping it up. Aiden Anthony had the game winner the other day against St. Mary's. 4 goals, 3 assists for him. Liam Hill has 40 goals for Fenwick. Jake Connolly, Salem News Football Player of the Year, great LSM for Fenwick. Anthony Sasso, George Costalias in goal. And Steve Driscoll does a fantastic job over there. This is a team, guys, who started 0-3, and now they're 8-4, going into a pretty big game against Austin Prep, powerhouse Austin Prep on Wednesday, and then back against St. Mary's on Friday at the start of the CCL Cup. So they're an up-and-coming team. Another surprise team I would put at number 4 would be, I would put Peabody at number 4. I was going to say Danvers would be my honorable mention. Danvers has had a great year. A lot of scoring over there as well. Christian Burke, Christian Harvey, Nick Tavares, Colby Dunham, et cetera. But Peabody, as you know, they lost their best player. You know, arguably one of the best players in the area, and Jack Holden, to an injury a couple weeks ago. He hasn't been back yet. At the time, Peabody was 6-0. They lost 2 straight, but since then they've gotten back on a little bit of a winning streak here. They have picked it up and are now 9-2. You have the captain Keenan Madden, got 23 goals. Anthony Betancourt, another senior attack, doing a great job, both passing with 19 goals, 15 assists. So he's got 34 points. Drew Lucas, one of the best players in the area, LSM defenseman. He's picked it up. He's scoring more. He's bringing the ball up with that long pole of his and knocking in shots with his accuracy and strength. So he's got 13 goals. And if he's not the ground ball leader in the area, I don't know who is. You got Cam Collins. You got Luke Buckley. You got Tristan L. Sr. been moved up without Jack there. And, of course, you got Derek Patarelli in net for the Tanners. He's coming off of a shutout win over Saugus. So they are 9-2. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Ipswich Tigers. Believe it or not, guys, they're one of 3 undefeated teams that we still have with about a week to go in the season here. Ipswich is well balanced. They don't have one guy with more than 30 points, but you look at Rowan Silva has 30 on 26 goals. Jaden Halecki, 19 goals, 29 points. Henry Wright, 26 points, 22 of those goals. Justin Brum, the great wideout and defensive back for the Cape Ann leading football team. He's got 8 goals and a team-leading 15 assists. Jonah Oroth has been terrific in goal for them. Ned Donovan, outstanding at the face-off circle, been really big. Jack Gillis, Mika Galuski, Aiden Arnold. A lot of guys getting it done for Coach Glenn Foster's team. And I don't even know if we mentioned that Glenn Foster hit win number 300 earlier this year, a couple weeks ago. Glenn's been the head coach there since 1985, and he is the dean of coaches. In fact, Willie, I was thinking the other day, who is he the dean of all of our coaches? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe Steve Sawyer could give him a run. I'm not sure how long Coach Sawyer's been around, but it's been
Maybe
a while.
Steve Sawyer, yeah. Coach Jellison, maybe.
Yeah, Coach Jellison. But Glenn would have to, I mean, he's certainly top 5, if not top 3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And if Ipswich can play 2 postseason games, the second game will be Ipswich Glenn's 600th as the team's head coach. So some nice milestones for him and his team. Number 2, you recently crowned Northeastern Conference champions, Marblehead Magicians, 3rd straight title for them guys. 11-0. They've steamrolled everybody. Really haven't had a close game yet. When they beat Peabody a few weeks ago, that was a 7-goal game. Beat Beverly by 8 the game after that, but they've just been crushing everybody. 8 goals, 9 goals, 12 goals. And there's all kinds of firepower on this Marblehead team. We've talked about a lot. Everybody knows Will Shull, senior captain, 100-point scorer for his career. He's got 32 goals, 43 points this year. Josh Robertson, quarterback of the football team, leading the team in scoring with 47 points, including 22 assists. You have Connor Cronin, the great sophomore, 23 goals, 39 points. Matt Thompson, another great scorer, 25 goals. Carter Laramie's got 16 goals. Mark Paquette's got 13 goals. And then you look at the defense. I mean, you got Gresh Bosworth. You got Remy Poisson. You got Baxter Jennings on the faceoff. You got JT Monahan in net. It's a team with few weaknesses. I know that Coach John Wilkins, would like to have seen his team maybe test a little bit more during the season. And that's not to knock anyone else in the conference, but just to get some outside games against competition to see how they might fare in the tournament. They won't get that. So they'll go into the state tournament quite possibly with an unbeaten record, but with a little bit of an unknown. Number 1, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody who follows lacrosse locally, is St. John's Prep, much like their baseball brethren that Willie mentioned. They are at the top of the heap by us. A bit of an upset last week at BC High in overtime. They lost 8-7 last time out. They're playing Catholic Memorial as we speak, and I would assume that would be a win considering they beat them by 9 goals first time, but I suppose you never know. But this is a team with few weaknesses. They are going to challenge not only for a North title, but a state title. They are going to be looking at, I mean, there are 3 teams to beat in the North section. You got the Prep, you got Lincoln Sudbury, which suffered their first loss today, and you have Acton Boxborough, which gave Lincoln Sudbury that loss today. So it's pretty much a 3-team race for the Division I North title. And then you're going to be facing the South champion, which is probably going to be either that same BC High team that beat the Prep, or Hingham, or possibly Zavarian. The lacrosse is now tightly packed among the top group. Not now, I mean, it always has been, but those are the teams you're looking at there. Hayden Quirk is the standout goalie for St. John's Prep. Of course, he's the son of Boston Cannons head coach, former Endicott head coach Sean Quirk. Up front, you got Jimmy Ayers, 29 goals. Michael Kelly, captain, 29 goals. Tommy Sani, 14 goals, 14 assists. Patrick Atkins, 12 goals. Luke Surratt, 12 goals. Charlie Wilmot, 10 goals. Defensively, Michael Ayers might be the best player in the entire area. LSM defender, going to Tufts, tremendous player. Graham Tyson on faceoffs has been great. He's Connor Keefe back on D. Connor Kelly, another great defenseman. Grady McGowan, captain. Midfielder, gets underlooked for his defensive play. Owen Amansky, another guy at the faceoff circle, along with Graham Tyson. There's no one standout at St. John's. It's the sum of the parts that make them what they are. And, as I said, they could very well be playing on July 3rd for a state championship.
Gentlemen, I want to jump. I want to save a few minutes at the end for maybe a minute or two of Bruins talk, as we did last week. But I'm just looking at some of the stories. We haven't really touched on softball. If anybody wants to react to anything, I noticed where Peabody is still undefeated at 12-0. I know in some coaching notes, Phil, you had a story, Matt Lampert taking over at the Beverly girls hockey program. And in college sports, Al Donovan will not be coming back as baseball coach at Salem State. Matt Williams had that story earlier this week. But any other local stories that you guys want to touch on before we jump to the Bruins as a wrap-up piece here?
Nick, what was the golf note today about Turner?
Yeah, I was going to say, shout out to Gary Larrabee for tracking this one down, but Mark Turner of Gloucester actually plays out of Bass Rocks. He was a fantastic player at St. John's Prep, probably one of the best players ever to come out of St. John's Prep. I think he averaged under par during his time there. He just qualified for the Massachusetts Amateur by shooting a 1 under par at Tedesco yesterday on Monday. And this is a kid that hasn't really played competitive golf for over a year because he's been dealing with tendonitis in his wrist. So it's nice to see him back out there and still finding success. I think he shot a 69 at Tedesco to qualify, and then the next day for some other tournament shot a 70 at Haverhill. So it doesn't seem like he's too hindered by this wrist injury right now. He's playing some pretty good golf, and this was a kid that when I was covering him at St. John's Prep, I always thought he had the tools to make a career in the sport, and it looks like if he can stay healthy, he's going to be right back in the mix again. So shout out to Mark Turner out of Gloucester.
I'd also just add, I would expect that we'd be getting some coaching news coming up very shortly, possibly this week, on both the vacant Ipswich and Beverly football jobs.
Yeah.
Where it's been such a quick turnaround from the end of the fall 2 season to when we're going to be starting football in our normal time. But we got 7-on-7s coming up shortly, camps and the like. So I would think I'm hearing a lot of interesting names at both schools who are have either submitted or have been interviewed or whatnot. And I think we'll be hearing on those schools fairly soon.
You read my mind on that one. I was wondering about that piece. Thanks for dropping that in.
You're welcome.
Well, Phil, we're going to throw you right back into the fire again here. Bruins, you've been covering the Bruins. They lost on Monday night and are now down 3-2 to the Islanders, rematching Wednesday night tonight as people watching this. But any quick thoughts on the Bruins? Who's going to be in goal, do you think, come Wednesday night?
I mean, if I had to guess right now as we're talking, I would say Tuukka Rask. But if the coaching staff feels like he's not in the right place, either physically or above the neck, I could certainly see them going with Swayman. Personally, I think it's an awful tough ask to turn to your rookie goaltender who has never started a playoff game and say, hey, you're making your first start. And by the way, if you lose, don't worry, our season's over. I mean, that's a tough ask. I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision because I can understand the frustration that people have with Rask. Clearly, he's not playing at 100%. I don't think he really has been probably since late February, early March. Seems like he's been dinged up. He missed a dozen games this year with what was believed to be a wonky back. Apparently, that's propped up again. And you can't have the last line of defense falter at this stage in the season, especially when you're 1 game away from elimination. Having said that, I know that he is 3-1 in his career in elimination games on the road, where the Bruins would go home. So you like that part of it. I think where the bigger issues lie is certainly on the penalty kill and on the defense, specifically that right side. I mean, they are really missing Kevin Miller and Brandon Carlo. And the penalty kill has been, in a word, atrocious these last few games. It was such a strength all season, and it's as if it's up and gone away now. The Islanders had 3 power play goals on 4 shots, at least on their first 3 power play attempts Monday night. And in 2 of those 3 instances, guys were wide open. Men, Sean Corrali missed one of his men. Connor Clifton missed his man on another play. And then on the third one, Matt Barzal just ripped a ridiculous shot through traffic up top over Rask's right shoulder. But the power play of the Islanders is not exactly the 1978 Montreal Canadiens or the 1985 Edmonton Oilers, but they're ripping apart the Bruins. And that just can't happen if the Bruins are going to win. They're going to have to weather an early storm. I mean, that crowd is going to be bananas tomorrow, Wednesday night, I should say, in Uniondale. The Bruins cannot allow the Islanders to jump out to an early lead. what happened last night was what I was fearful of, is that they scored early, they had a ton of momentum, and they didn't cash in after that. So they had all this momentum, allowed the Islanders to score late in the first period, and then they carried that over into the second. The Bruins never carried over any momentum they had. So they need to play with pace. They need to dictate the terms of the game, and they can't get beat defensively, especially in the power play. I do think they'll get a few more power play calls of their own after what Rich Cassidy has said the last few days about the officiating. I think it has a funny way of working out that way. But they obviously need the goaltending, they need the defense, and they have to have secondary scoring step up. That might sound like a lot of asks, but hey, if they can do it and bring it back home, it's a game 7 on Friday night, and anything can happen there.
Hey, I'm looking at the clock, guys, but I know that Matt Williams, aka Don Cherry Jr., had a lot to say about hockey last week, and of course Nick as well. But maybe if you guys take 30 seconds each or 45 seconds to close it out for us here on the Bruins. Matt, you want to take over where you left off last week?
Yeah, I'm worried about game 7 because I don't think they're going to lose 3 in a row. I know everybody's assuming it's over and they're all done, but I just think the Islanders aren't good enough to beat them 3 games in a row. If they lose 3 in a row, it's on them and shame on them. And the only other thing I would add is that I'm tired of hearing about the ref because I'm told that the Bruins have the greatest defensive forward that's ever been born in history. So kill the penalty. Like Phil said, the Islanders PK is not that good. You killed off all the penalties against the Washington power play that's way better. So quit crying about the refs and just kill the penalty.
Nick Kukaroo.
Yeah, I don't understand, and this has been a problem for years. I mean, I feel like every time the Bruins are on, the wrong end of a questionable call, they don't fight through it. They allow a goal, and usually quickly. And, and you see, soft penalty, they're going to allow a goal in 10 seconds. They allow a goal in 10 seconds. I mean, you can't really, rely on that crutch that you didn't get any calls when you're not making your own breaks. And that's been their problem. I think the Islanders are deeper at forward and defense, and it's starting to show. And plus, their goalie's playing better right now. So, it's a tough ask for the Bruins. I think they're probably more talented, but it's not looking good right now.
And Mr. Full Court Press.
I did write before the series started. I thought it would go 7. So let's see if I get proven prophetic here or not.
Nick Giannino, you want 30 seconds?
Yeah, sure. Obviously I've been locked into all the Bees games this season, now, but I think realistically, and I want to put this on record, I believe that the winner of the Vegas Knights and Colorado Avalanche series is going to win the cup. So I'm just going to go out there and say that.
Nice.
Hey, real quick, I just want to mention, since Nick is our hoop guy, did I see this correctly that whoever wins the NBA title this year will be a new champion for the first time in 15 years? Am I reading that right? Or the teams
Longer.
that reach the NBA finals are
Longer.
going to be 2 teams that haven't been there in at least 15 years or something?
The last team out of the teams remaining, the team to win the championship most recently was the Sixers in 1983.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah, there's going to be a new champion for sure. No more LeBron, no more Warriors, no more Spurs. We're moving on.
I like it.
New era.
All right.
Hey, we're out of time. We don't want to get cut off like last week here, but we're good. But gentlemen, great talking with you, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.